This conference will now be recorded.
The time being 4:45 p.m., I'd like to call the meeting of May 5th to order. Before we get started, if you are joining us virtually, please mute your microphone during the meeting unless you want to speak. Otherwise, background noise will interfere with the meeting. So we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business this evening will be to review and approve the meeting minutes from April 7th and April 21st.
On the second paragraph up from the bottom, represent Harvey.
Are we to page 1?
Yeah,
Mr. Scanlon?
so, yeah, and it tells us Juliet distribute a map of the PFA testing in the Tilton area, and that it showed hot spots.
Okay, so if I add after Tilton area showing hotspots,
Yeah.
Okay.
Then on page 4, second paragraph up, will be John passed around a rusty water pipe from Arsenal. It's a rusty water main that was reduced by 50% from Morrison Ave. And
because of rust.
age.
Okay. All right. So not pipe, but main.
Yeah, it was water main.
Okay.
And also remind that Morrison Ave had been pushed off a few times for repaving.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of April 7th, 2022 as corrected.
Ruggles, second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from April 7th, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Please note that Selectman Constantino is not here for that.
I don't have the minutes of the,
I don't have the 21st.
You don't-
Nope.
No,
She had sent them both in an email.
I did see them.
She did, apparently didn't put it in your book.
No.
Well, I can make copies, I can go downstairs and make copies, or we put it off to the next meeting.
I'll suggest we put it off till the next meeting. We can just approve it anyway.
Me.
Okay.
Okay, with everyone in agreement on that, we will take a look at the meetings from 4/21 at the next meeting, on May 19th. Next order of business is to I make a motion to accept the donation of signs to the DPW from Representative Doug Trottier. The value to purchase the signs would be equivalent to about $16,000.
I'll second that for discussion.
Motion and a second, discussion. Mr. Jessen.
Yeah, I'm still not entirely clear why Mr. Trottier plans to give us these signs. I'm not thankful. I mean, I always like it when people contribute, but I was wondering why and how this came to be.
Hi. When Mr. Trottier came to the shop and talked to me about this, he had mentioned offering them to other towns, well, actually his hometown of Belmont, and they actually weren't interested. They were not interested in the signs.
But he's donating because he's going on business.
That's correct. Yes, he is no longer using the signs, and he wants them to be, he wants them to go to somewhere that would use them. He's not looking for any monetary reimbursement. He just wants them to go to good use, and he just wants recognition that he is donating them to a municipal entity. So that was the conversation that we had. He showed me some pictures of the equipment. They are, to be honest, very costly if we were to purchase them. They are the legit $16,000 worth.
What kind of signs?
They are, there's a picture. So they're the big aluminum frames that,
Nice,
with the bases that fold down. They're
nice,
adjustable,
thank you.
and everything from men working to road closed, detour, men and equipment in road, everything that we would use as a department. So what I've found in the past is working with the police department on road closures, we could actually take a bunch of these signs and put them together in a response trailer, so that if there's an accident that we need to respond quickly to, we just hook up to the trailer and tow it in place and disperse it. We don't have to collect them and put them into a truck. So it would be a huge benefit to the town to receive these signs.
And there might be space in the new Tahoes as well in the back.
To carry something, yes,
Okay, good, beautiful.
so that they could be deployed. With a tire jack.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of accepting the donation of signs from Representative Trottier, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Unheard. Again, Selectman Constantino is not with us at this time. Motion passes.
Should we write a letter somehow? Thank you.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank you very much, Representative Trottier, if you are listening
That's
or
pretty
going to listen. We appreciate it significantly. So, and now, perfect. Mr. Duvall is here. It's time to review the paving bids.
So these paving bids, I need to state first off that I'm just going to speak about how it came about. And, I put the project together. I put together this RFP that is very thorough. It clearly states everything that I was asking for as far as work, the scope of work for this project. The only company that reached out to me and asked questions and actually did a site walk with me was R&D Paving. I have not received any phone calls or inquiries from GMI or other contracting paving contractors that I had submitted the RFP to. After reviewing the numbers, that R&D and GMI had submitted, I feel that R&D's bid is very transparent because they asked the questions. How much handwork is involved, Kevin? How many driveways are we tying in? What about the intersections, the work that's involved with all the catch basins and all the utilities that are in the road? Where are these roads starting? Where are they stopping? The painted sidewalks, there was some question of grinding or paving over the top, things of that nature. So when I submitted these RFPs, the tonnage was equated on not only the square footage of the roads, but also the estimated handwork to tie in each driveway and each road intersection, because it's very intricate work that's going to be needed up there because of the cross streets in the hill, in drainage control, because there is going to be some paved swales, things like that. GMI did not ask any questions. Not only did they not ask the questions, they actually wrote in their own tonnage, which, as far as I'm concerned, isn't what I was asking for. Not only that, their tonnage doesn't even equal the total tonnage for the wearing course that it equates to. So there's some, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's some uncertainty with GMI's figures with their bid. R&D, like I said, is very transparent. They were the only ones asking questions. Now, this is very difficult because it is such a large number difference. I'm not sure what else to share.
Do you have a recommendation?
I would recommend R&D. We have working relationship with R&D from the past. The project that the Cedar Street project that happened a couple of years ago worked very well. They were very involved with every aspect of it.
I have a question.
Sure.
Spruce Street was done a few years ago. Why are we doing it again?
There's some cracks in the road. There's some questions on, well, it was done prior to me starting 6 years ago. I'm not sure when it was done, but some cracks in the road and some drainage issues have been brought to my attention. And in the interest of when we're working with paving, we get a better price per ton when we do more volume at once. So all those little streets, Maple Court, Poplar, Spruce, I'm going to get a better price per ton getting those roads done now because of all the other work going on. If I was to do them like next year and just do those specific roads, it would actually cost the town more money because the price per ton would be.
Follow up.
Mr. Parler.
So you just mentioned cracks in the road. I believe that the company that paved that road is one of these two bidders, which would make me apprehensive of if you're already repaving the road because of cracks and drainage issues, then why would we consider?
As far as I know, R&D did not pave Spruce Street. That wasn't included in the Cedar Street project.
It's not the Cedar Street project, but Spruce Street was done.
Okay.
They dug it up. They replaced all the utilities.
Okay.
You know, the town ground it up like they did with Cedar Street. They ground it up in the spring,
Mhm.
and then they paved it later on, and allowing the different companies. So I'm just curious why we're repaving that road so soon. I understand the whole thing about.
I'm not familiar with how involved that project was.
It was
it
similar to
total,
Cedar Street.
it was a total reclamation?
Yes.
compact with water.
If you look
grade.
at High Street,
Mhm.
the intersection with High Street and Spruce Street, you'll see there's like it's just like you have at the intersection of Cedar and High,
Mhm.
where they had to go out to connect to the main,
Sure.
the main.
Yep.
And, continue that through. So I'm just curious,
I can't speak about that because obviously that was a previous director and I don't know what was required back then of the paving company. I don't know the logistics behind it.
I'm
All I can
fairly
do is-
certain it was
Okay,
that's why I'm just,
that company. I'm sure it's in the history of, as far as when it was paved, and I can do some research that way. I don't,
Mr. Scanlon.
Yeah, I was curious, and I was asked by some residents why Morrison it was put off from last year
Mhm.
until after the Honda was done.
Mhm.
They've had a couple breaks in the water main a year.
Mhm.
The line right now, it's
Really small,
1940s.
yeah.
It's this big,
Yep.
and it's reduced down to about half an inch on the inside. And it's heavily rusted with sediment. They can't flush it.
Mhm.
And we had one house down the end that got flooded out by it. And everybody's been waiting. I think it was back in 2006, I think is the last time.
it was
done.
paved, yeah.
Yeah.
So if everything goes to plan, Grant Street, Morrison Ave, and the road where the old PD was, those,
Jocelyn.
no, that's a private road. So those 3 roads will be paved next year. To do it all in one block. I knew there was some construction going on with the new Honda dealer and the water department was doing their construction. Grant Street has had some issues as well.
Copeland.
There we go. So the way that I've been tackling these projects is trying to do clusters of roads in the same calendar year. So that in 10 or 15 years, when it comes time to do them again, it follows that same track. So
Staging.
it kind of sets us up for the next go around.
Yeah. You might want to tell the water department right away because
Well,
It's-
there's,
so they can be ready for it.
Mhm.
It's
we have a meeting with them on the 9th.
Yeah,
Mr.
and that's
Jess.
probably going to be a big one because over the years, they kept
Just adding
bringing
on.
it up and
Yeah.
there's a couple of people that are getting flooded.
Yeah.
Not me.
So
My water main's out the front.
So, that's, that just goes, there's a lot of work involved with these roads because over the years, it's just been overlay after overlay. So we're doing a full depth reclamation of these roads. And there's going to be a lot of work involved with the structures that are within the road, which is a lot of handwork, which I feel very strongly R&D has an accurate bid because they figured in all that handwork.
Mr. Jessamine.
So there's a $76,000 difference in the price.
So,
And my question, I'll start out with, if we were to award the bid to GMI,
Mhm.
and they haven't considered tying into the driveways and all that stuff, that would be on them to complete that work, would it not? For the price that we
They're-
got on paper.
that's the gray area. I would anticipate, if we went with GMI, I would anticipate a significant charge at the end of the project for the extras.
Well,
Because
we have-
they did not submit what I was asking for in this initial bid. So technically, I shouldn't even consider this because it's not even what I was asking.
So Mr. Jessamine, so I did some quick math, which I will admit can be dangerous because I'm a history teacher. So, but in looking at and just taking the difference in tonnage, just the difference in tonnage on the quote, it would add almost $65,000 to the GMI quote.
Mhm.
Um,
So
Yeah, in me, just so when wrapping my brain around this, and I looked at these extensively, my hesitancy about going with a quote, even though it's lower, is that to me that it's not line item. It's not outlined as to what they're going to do. And to me, that's just, I don't know. I'll be honest, it shows a little bit of a lack of care, kind of a cavalier attitude about it. That's just the way that I see it. And, you know, I know the expense is more. If you calculate it in even just the raw tonnage, GMI would come in around $50,000 under. But as I think that we're articulating here, we don't know the rest of the work that might need to be done on that.
There is another point I would like to make if I can.
Mhm. Go ahead. Yes.
In order, part 2, which is the wearing course, okay, it's outlined in my RFP. Prior to the wearing course being applied, shimming needs to be done for any areas that have settled. There's tonnage involved with that. Do we know what it is? No. So that's an added cost.
Would that be an added cost for R&D as well?
No, because it was specifically asked prior to them submitting the bid. So I would have to assume that they included that estimate in their bid. So if I was to look at GMI's bid and their estimated tonnage for part 2, which is the wearing course, the top coat, they estimated 975 tons. My calculations say it's going to be 1,408 tons. It's quite a difference. The only way for it to be 975 tons is if they put down an inch or less of top coat. Now, an inch or less of top coat is road failure, hands down, if they use the 3/8, the half inch that I was requesting, half-inch aggregate at 1.5 inches top coat. Once you start to shorten that thickness, an inch, 3/4 of an inch with half-inch aggregate, there's no stability in the road because there's no liquid to hold it together. There's no liquid asphalt because it's rock on rock, basically. And you're gonna have a road failure.
No mortar.
So how are they estimating the 975 tons? It just does not equate. The 1,400 tons that's the square footage yardage of the roads. There's no leeway there. That is the exact measurement calculated to tonnage. So where are they coming up with that number? I don't know. I didn't have a conversation with anybody from GMI. I cannot recommend them for this job.
What roads has GMI done for us in the past? Yeah, we'll start out with that. What roads has GMI done?
I'm not aware of any roads that GMI has.
How about R&D?
R&D has done Ridge Road. That was done when I first started, back in 2016, I believe. They've done Cedar Street, Mountain View. Oh my goodness. Cedar Street, Pine Street, Highland, and Linden. They did that whole section. And the only hiccup in that entire project was the sewer cut on Cedar Street, which I am still cranky about. And R&D actually went in on High Street Extension while they were in the area, and they did the patchwork because the sewer department was in there doing some work as well. So they acquired that work. As far as I know, all that work is still stable.
Mr. Pyra?
What's your budget for all that paving? Is this gonna chew up the capital?
No,
I don't know what the balance is in that account.
I believe the last time I looked at that account, we had a little over 300,000 in there. So breaking it over 2 budget years obviously is helpful.
Yep.
If we do the binder this year, not if, but we do the binder this year, we'll have roughly 100,000 in there to do sidewalks and some other work that we have plans. Maybe going into our other discussion, Academy Street, we might have to make Academy Street happen this year. So we do have some money left over to get that other work done.
The High Street was done in late 90s when they did the sewer project.
So I know that Director Duvall would appreciate a decision this evening.
I would, only because as soon as I get a decision, then I can contact the contractor and get us locked in for this year.
What would be your anticipated start date?
Considering I would September, October-ish, because I'm having the winter binder put in place. So it would be similar to the Cedar Street project. September, October, before the plant closes. It'll sit all winter, settle, and then in the spring of 2023, we would have the top coat done. So my goal would be to, obviously the sewer department knows about the work that's happening. It would give us some time to contact the gas company to have the water department do any work, hopefully, that they would have to do. I've been told that all those utilities are okay in that area because I have done I have had some conversations with the water department and the sewer department about that entire area. So I would like to think that the only company I would have to contact about some work would be the gas company. And they're usually pretty quick with response times.
So you would you would grind it down in this June, because on the Cedar Street, the whole summer is spent
Yes.
as dust.
So
And
this project is going to be handled differently because of the steep grade of the roads. I cannot come in and reclaim and leave it open.
Yeah.
It's too much.
so they have a short window, basically.
They're supposed to do it concurrently. When they come in and reclaim the road, they're supposed to compact, grade, and pave right behind them. So it's supposed to all happen at once. I can't take the risk of having washouts.
Well, I was thinking about that too. Those
Especially on Prospect Street.
Yes, exactly. So considering the location of the project, and it was put out in the RFP, that it's all supposed to happen at once.
I'm loath to approve more money, but I'm inclined to do so nonetheless because I don't want it costing us an arm and a leg at the end of the contract. It just seems like there's too many, like you said, questions about who's responsible for what with the one bid. We didn't technically follow the RSP, which is surprising to me. GMI they've been around for a while. But that isn't.
I will mention that they were a lot closer with the Cedar Street project RFP that I had sent out. If you remember correctly, there was only $3,000 or $4,000 difference between GMI and R&D. And I had a lengthy conversation with Selectmen Fogg about that. Kind of the same scenario. I didn't hear from GMI at all.
I'll make a motion that the town accept the bid from R&D Paving for $382,250.
Pyra second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. Those in favor of accepting the paving bid from R&D Paving, please say aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
So Kevin, you wanted to talk to the board about Academy Street, request to.
Yes. So I've been monitoring the road, Academy Street, the road conditions. There are some new cracks that have developed on the side where the retaining wall is. I had the crew go out there and button up the potholes and rebuild the berm, the asphalt berm, to keep the water in the road and not wash out the wall. That's just a Band-Aid for now. It's just to try to control the water. I don't know if you've been by there, but I've put some barricades up to keep the trucks from hugging the edge where the guardrail is. I suspect that some large trucks, whether the trash trucks or the dump trucks or heavy trucks, are hugging the edge of the road, traveling, trying to make it by 2 lanes. And ultimately that is creating some cracks and some concerns. Considering that road will have to be turned into a one-way, 1-lane road for the construction of the wall, I would like permission to go ahead and make that one-way, 1 lane now to keep the traffic away from that side of the road until the construction project is complete. It's a little preemptive. It gets people used to the flow of traffic, and it will buy us some time to negotiate with the water department some issues that we have, concerns that we have, and possibly get that project done this year or 2023.
Do you see that as a safety issue, Kevin?
It is definitely a safety issue. After seeing the cracks that I've seen, in knowing that road is used for bypassing Main Street for parades and things, that we really need to act, because I don't want to lose a truck into that property. It's going to take one heavy truck to hug the guardrail, and it'll be bad.
Selectman Constantino?
In order to make it one lane, you need to make it a one-way.
Mhm.
You can't, so if
No.
they're synonymous with one another. Are you saying make it one way?
Make it 1 way, 1 lane. And I would propose that we go from School Street to Prospect Street to keep vehicles away from the intersection near Town Hall. Flow of traffic would go towards Chestnut Street to the light.
And how would we do that for signage as far as the other end of Academy when they come in? Doesn't the bus comes up, doesn't the bus come this way, Prospect to school, or does it come from school to Prospect? The bus route,
I'm not aware of the bus route.
bus 50.
Contact first student.
I could contact them and make them aware of the change.
There's there's a bus route that comes up. It's either school, it just recently changed,
Mhm.
School Street, Academy,
Mhm.
and Academy Extension going over
Mhm.
and up. They used to come up Prospect and I believe this way, and I'm not real sure which way it is right now.
Mhm.
So we need to figure out
Mhm.
which way that is, because that would be a detriment, because now they would either have to come down Peabody, up Prospect, Peabody, and down. Because they have
Peabody or Pillsbury?
Pillsbury, I'm sorry, Pillsbury.
Mhm.
And down.
Pat, are you talking the afternoon route or the morning? The morning route, I know from middle school, high school, comes down School Street and across Academy this way, because I've followed that much. Yeah,
Down.
yeah, so I don't know about the
There's one that
afternoon route.
comes from Northfield and up, and over, so after you run through.
It probably does both ways,
Probably.
because
I
in
would
the
just
afternoon, it would reverse the
I would
road.
just
Okay.
double check to see how that would hinder, and if it would hinder. If it's not gonna hinder, then I would go with your recommendation and Prospect to school. Or you want to go school.
School Street to
I'm sorry,
Prospect,
school to
yeah.
Prospect.
Just to force the traffic to the light and to keep the congestion down at the town hall intersection.
You also have to consider Old Home Day as well, because the parade route would go the alternate. The parade would go downtown, so the alternate would go up school and down Academy, so we would want to go that way.
For Old Home Day, would we send them up School Street to Pillsbury?
Either,
Well, no, because traffic coming this way would probably turn right into, well, no, it goes both ways.
Hmm.
Because they close off the Park Street Bridge for Old Home Day.
yes, we would have to go up to Pillsbury.
We'd have to go up to Pillsbury, right?
Pillsbury has its own issues.
Mhm.
Can lose small children in some of those potholes. So,
Excuse me.
yes.
So we would
Send
go
John
back
up
to
to find
the,
out.
get back to the
Black
signage, which we would need to put signage on the Chestnut end of Academy to let them know that Academy is not coming this way.
What I've found is with those wooden barricades, people have actually moved them closer to the guardrail to make room. So I would actually put some concrete blocks that we would move with the machine, so people couldn't just move them. And with the proper signage, do not enter one way.
We have new signs. so there you go.
And when this happens, we can put it out on the town alert as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Super.
Mm,
Yes, Mr. Scanlon.
Should we put a load limit on that?
Yeah, that's a thought.
I add
But
that to.
We could add that to
I
the,
mean, trash trucks can still do it because they're exempted in
Sure,
delivery and
sure.
stuff, but, so it's not used like tractor trailer, short head or something.
yeah, we definitely, that would definitely help.
Yeah, I don't know what, that's, you'd figure out what the load limit would be.
Yeah.
Suggestion.
So we agree to have this change to Academy Street go one way? Yes.
I'm in favor.
Okay.
We need to make a motion.
Need to be a motion or just consensus?
Safety, it's consensus.
I think it's fine.
Consensus.
Okay.
So, Mr. Scanlon, yes?
Yep, yes, definitely.
Okay, so consensus is yes.
I have a question about if the integrity of the road is suspect, is it safe to have that road open at all? And as a follow-up, what's the time frame for, what do we have to do to make a deal with the water company? Because we need to get that road.
And that'll, hopefully that will be decided on the 9th of May. We have a meeting already scheduled to discuss the issues. Because if you remember correctly, last year I had the machine all rented, ready to go.
I thought we were going to do.
And something happened that we decided it wasn't a good document to sign and we needed to talk about it some more. And here we are.
And
So-
and sewer did their work for you.
Yes,
Wasn't there an issue about a water pipe?
yes. There were two issues. One was a bond, I believe. And the other one was they were asking us to be responsible for the water main for 3 additional years after the completion of the project, which I did not agree with.
So is the meeting going to take place during the commissioners'
No,
meeting?
no,
You're having a separate one?
it's on the 13th.
13th now?
Yes. It's on the 13th. John will need to meet with us first and then have it. in the
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Kevin.
Blue bag.
thank you.
John.
Blue bags, yes. Yeah, I was able to get my hands on 3 cases of blue bags. We have 300 bags.
It's probably, was the rail trail that are going to be, they're doing their cleanup and
Okay,
along with anybody else.
Okay, so,
And I guess they'll talk to you about for disposing of them,
oh, sure.
you know, and how to arrange that.
Will they reach out to me as far as acquiring the bags, or should I
I'll
bring them to
talk
town hall, or?
I'll talk to him.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, just stop in and-
Like Ken Norton,
Okay,
or I.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I got a hold of 300 bags, so hopefully we'll have enough for a few years, depending on obviously the amount of trash that's out there.
Yeah, that's good. So that way you know that those are good enough specifically for town cleanup type things, not municipal trash.
Sure.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you. Want me to flip the-
Yeah, if you would, if Abe is down there, would you send him up? Was he down there for us?
No,
Abe?
no, just,
The time being 5:26, I make a motion to enter into non-public session per RSA 91A3, 2 subsection A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has the right to a public meeting, and 2, request that meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. Also RSA 91A3 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee, and RSA 91A3 2C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant.
second,
Motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Constantino, yes?
Jessamine, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Pirate, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We're now in non-public session.
This conference will now be recorded.
Can you hear us, Tim?
Mr. Pearson, can you hear us?
Tim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. I make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session of May 5th to 2022, because the reasons justifying the need for the non-public session still remain.
Second,
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of sealing the minutes from the non-public session, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are on to Selectmen's reports. Mr. Pyra, you're first.
well, I don't really have a lot to say today, so I am going to bide my time and pass it to Mr. Scanlon.
Well, we've got the trash bags. Thanks to Jeannie and Kevin for doing some cleanup trash along the trail. That's going to be coming up. I believe it's towards the end of this month. We'll try and get it done, either the website for that board. But that's about it. The flowers are coming up. They're looking nice. Third year? Second year?
No, it was
Third
third.
year.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a third.
Yeah.
Because we need to do it.
We had a pretty good survival rate compared to what was expected from, but predicted by others. Anyway, but that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Scanlon. Selectman Constantino is not with us, but if she does come online before we finish, we'll let her give her report. So that moves to me. First piece that I have is an apology, because the last meeting that we had come out of non-session and should have made an announcement. That announcement was the fact that we have rehired Janice Della Croce as our land use technician. So we'll handle that. There is, we have also done our nominations and Citizens of the Year nominations. I know that some nominations have come in. Is it closed now? Are we done with that?
Oh, that's really up to all of you.
Okay.
You've got,
Okay, so
but they need, they need it.
Yeah.
They have asked me, and I said, I thought you would have a decision tonight.
So if there's anyone else, I know that we have a few that have come in. Then if there's anyone else, then we need to figure that out very, very quickly in terms of our Citizen of the Year nominations, like tonight, like now in public. Do we need to do it or?
Well, I don't know how you want to do it.
Okay, so let's think about that for a minute and I'll go through a couple more. So we, this week, on Tuesday, I was able to go out with Jeannie and Kevin and take a look at the possible and the potential placement spots for the lamp posts on the Winnipesaukee Walk, which is over across from the Tettle gas station. I had sent pictures to folks so they could take a look at them. If you need to see hard copies right now.
I saw that.
And if you have any questions on that, we're happy to sort of field those questions. But I believe what we'd like to do is just be able to move forward with the purchase of the lamp posts and then be able to get that project started. In talking with Kevin and his vision over there, I think it's going to look fantastic. Plus the addition of the fact that he is going to build some more flower boxes for that fencing over there, just to be able to improve that area significantly.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm in favor of the placement of the post as described in the vision.
So yes, Mr. Scanlon.
Yeah, I guess the thing I was thinking about is, that they're real close to the street and for people opening doors and cars.
Oh, no, that's not where they're going. It's just.
That was just the spacing.
Spacing,
Okay.
yeah.
That was just. the
Yeah, so
spacing.
it's, I was trying to think if they should be on closer to the fence or not, but they look kind of crowded close to the fence. So, maybe close to the sidewalk, whatever that you figure out for
Yeah,
the width and.
And they'll figure all that out. That was. just
Doors.
to show you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just a representation of the distance between each
Yeah.
one. And there will be 10,
Mhm.
okay, between near where the end of the mill is and then all the way down to the thing. Also, Kevin is going to try and work with the state so that, to try and consolidate some of the signs that are there that are, directing people to I-93 so that we can sort of have a cleaner look in the area. So that's, again, I think as we all know, having to do that and work with the state, we hope that they are amicable, but it doesn't always work out. But Kevin is going to present some ideas in terms of consolidating signs so that we don't have, I believe there's six signs there right now, trying to consolidate some of that as well. So yes, we're all good in terms of going forward with the purchase of lampposts and the starting the project. Good consensus? Yes, all set. And last piece is Old Home Day update. Is that Old Home Day this year will be held, the main events will be held at the Tilton School Athletic Fields at 22 Sargent Street. So we were able to secure that space with a couple of codicils, and Old Home Day Committee knows this. I was working with them just as the liaison with the school. And so very honestly, the whole thing is the school wants me to be on site because I know the site. So I will be on site the whole day for Old Home Day. And I've talked with the folks at the committee about that. And they are securing their insurance rider to indemnify the school as well. So which they have to have. So that is good news. And we will be able to accommodate lots of folks there with the open space and be able to have a good Old Home Day finally after a few years, which will be a really good event for all of us. One last piece, non-Tilton, but if he decides to watch tonight and doesn't fall asleep in his chair, happy birthday to my father who turned 79 today.
79?
So yes, 79 today. So, and that's it for me. So Mr. Jessen.
Yeah, I remember when I was 79. Okay. On Monday, the 16th and Tuesday, the 17th
Oh,
of
yeah.
May, Director Duval and myself, on Monday, we're going to go to the NRRA function down there and try to get everything we can, the newest thing in compactors, and with an eye towards, what can we do and how much does it cost and who are the reps and the newest things in recycling in the state. Um, I've always learned a great deal going down there, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'll bring back a report. I don't know anything about those concerts.
No,
I've reached out, and maybe somebody else knows in the selectman's office, but
no,
we have to know,
yes.
like, quick, because the 4th of July weekend might seem like a long ways off, but that's when
60
first
days.
one is supposed to happen. Are we going to have a reduced number of, I don't know the answer to any of this. And if we have to secure bands, how do we go about that? So if we could reach out from the selectman's office, I will continue to reach out. Gail seems to have a good rapport with Titus, and I don't know what Titus's situation is right now. But I certainly want to continue the concert series. I think it's good for the town, even though we won't be having it on the island this year. It's a good thing for us to carry it on. That is my report.
I do have something, Mr. Chair.
Yes, can I respond to Mr. Yesman?
Sure.
So if the contact comes in, I guess this is for Jeannie too, I guess if the contact comes for Titus, and whether he comes into the area or wants to do a FaceTime walk around of the amphitheater at Tilton School, please let him know that we can do that. So that won't be a problem overall. And as I said, anyone else who would like to come up, if you want to come up, Joe, or anyone else, just to be able to see the space.
Well, definitely want to come prior to the event.
Yeah, I just, just reach out and let me know. We can sort of work at any time. We finish up school and the students will be leaving on June 2nd. So, but you can come up before that if you want on any sort of given day or afternoon. I can take you over to it. And I think it'll be, for the time being, a wonderful replacement overall and a good space to be able to have it. There's plenty of seating. So, good, Mr. Pyra.
Two things. Thank you to Mr. Ron Dunlap for fixing the barbecue pit at the Tilton Island Park. Thank you for your time to do that. It looked, from the picture I saw, it looks very good. We'll hopefully soon be able to enjoy it again. And also, between now and our next meeting, there'll be an important holiday coming. So I just think that we should all wish the chair, Mr. Scott Ruggles, a very happy birthday on May 15th.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Yeah, I saw this. He's dead.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean that he's ineligible, I guess, but doesn't say he has to be alive.
Makes it harder to ride in a car.
I'm not going there. Well, I'm not going about riding in the car.
Everybody got a copy of the criteria and the list of who's run on it before, and I did send off.
Yeah, and if anyone needs to look at it quickly, Jeannie set us up with, if anyone just needs to look over the criteria or the past list.
The other one, that he didn't know what you.
It's on the list a couple of years ago.
Anyway,
Even though
But one, I sent a message to.
because it doesn't look like a project.
doesn't need to be,
We know.
prefer that it was. But it was a surprise in the end.
So yes, I think I think it is possible.
So I think, okay, are you sure, Joe? Because I didn't hear that,
What's that?
that one of those people died, because I've known him for many years and I was never told. So I'm hoping that that's not true, the second person.
He's not dead? I thought he had died.
We'll talk after.
Okay, I honestly
Eric,
thought.
I'll
Can you Google that
stop
for
by
us?
and check it out.
I don't know.
Okay,
As Eric said, it'd be very hard to ride in the car unless we're doing a
Mm.
weekend at Bernie's thing.
Bernie's, yeah.
you just swap them up in sunglasses. Oh, no, okay, John, I take it back. I was thinking of his relative.
Yes,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
good.
All
I
right.
was thinking of his relative.
So you've got someone?
You scared me.
I don't.
We're at an impasse.
Yeah, it's just,
Good enough.
I don't know. This one's a conundrum. I don't want it to
It's a tough,
send us overtime,
no,
so. But I know that they need to,
when's the next meeting? 21st, right?
our meeting, our next
No,
meeting.
no, the Old Home Day.
I don't know.
It's the 21st is what I have in my, so it's not something that we gotta decide tonight.
I got that impression from the email.
Well, hey, maybe things have changed and I didn't know. Sometimes I live under a rock.
We
You see
can't
dead people.
really say names to people here.
No, but-
I would
We
prefer
can-
not to.
We can,
Okay.
if that's something that's allowed to email, we're just making a suggestion for,
The Old Home Day Committee chooses.
they choose, we're just,
So we're just nominating.
You're making a
Oh,
recommendation.
Make it
That's all we're doing is making a recommendation.
Yeah,
And quite frankly, we could submit 2 names.
and they could get somebody else too.
They could, but I doubt. it.
There's one for Meredith, or excuse me, one for Tilton and one for.
No,
Pat is online.
Okay.
So do I have something to give them?
I've never been through it before, so. I'm
I'd
gonna-
say send them both. And at that meeting, I will explain that not that we're ambivalent, but we have deserving individuals for the Old Home Day Committee
So you
to,
want to leave that choice to them?
it's their choice anyway.
Yeah, they make the choice, yeah.
Yeah.
Citizens can write in.
So these are nominations.
Oh, I.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's the Old Home Day Citizen of the Year Award.
All right.
So Selectman Constantino, if you're on that, we're going to put forth 2 names, one of which you had chosen as your first choice. So we'll leave it at that. I think that's, and I will hand those to you.
I'm fine with that as long as I'm not on it.
So, well, did you choose yourself first? No. I will take this. Can you pass that over to?
I will.
Thank you. Pat, did you want to do your selectmen's report?
Did Jeannie already do it?
No, I did not.
Oh, no. So we are still in selectmen's reports, but Joe just finished and we were hoping you would hop on if you had anything from your selectmen's report.
Yes,
There were 2 things, if you remember. One was the award, the adult volunteer award, and the other one was the window.
yeah, Jeannie can explain it to you. It's not, I'm having difficulty hearing on the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you remember, asked the board to write the letter of support for Gary Perkins and David earlier. And we learned happened on the 3rd that Diane and David actually did get the 2022 Older Adult Volunteer Award.
Yeah. Congratulations.
And, yes. And the event, the letter that was sent to them said that they can do it to friends and family members. The awards ceremony will be on Monday, May 16th from 2 to 3 o'clock. In the second council chambers of the state.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And the second item, Selectman Constantino and the executive committee had some work that needs to be done at the senior center. And I went over that with Director Duvall, and he said that he could do all the work in June, July, once he gets past May and all the other work that he's done, that needs to happen sooner than later. That he could address those issues with his crew, except for the window, which he felt that they didn't have the expertise that should be contracted out. And so I think that Dr. Constantino wanted to ask the board the permission to get bids for window replacement. Is that right, Bob?
Yes, that's correct. It's a town owned building, and it's the outbuilding, the side that faces towards the Grange Road, and it's up in the peak. The window needs to be replaced. Animals are getting in, and it's probably a simple bid. It's probably going to be under maybe $500, but it's still a town-owned building, and the selectmen need to approve us going out to get that fixed.
I'm a guess.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep, yes.
Okay.
So do you have anything else, Pat?
No, I don't. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is discussion about and review of the goal setting done in 2019, ideas from the select board in terms of maybe parts that we should emphasize, questions about what was there, has anything changed, et cetera. I'd like to expedite it, keep it probably to about half an hour in our discussion on this. So anyone in terms of goal setting, questions, thoughts?
I think the goals that we had at the end of 2019, we still currently have. There's a couple of things in the police department component. We pretty much finished the police department, yay. But all the rest of the things as far as the community goes and upgrading our infrastructure, working on the downtown, getting that, making it a gateway to Tilton as you drive through it. I'd like to take a moment to thank Jeannie Forrester and the people that are working with her, on, whether it's flowers or flower pots or whatever it is, researching grants for things like the replacement of the Island Bridge, grants for telephone or for light poles, all the various things that her and her group, and I'm guessing mostly her, have done to head us in that direction. I have begun to I don't know what the official name of it is, the true green fence or whatever, but I've taken to calling it Forester Park. It just has a ring to it somehow to me.
I don't know. You do know that we have an environmental company and there was an environmental accident there, so I'm not sure I want to be associated
Oh,
with that.
yeah, but you've changed that whole thing. It's a whole different space from when the drunk drove into the river.
It's gonna be great when it's done. I'm really excited about
Because Kevin also, so was talking about being able to put benches
it. Mhm.
and a couple of
Yeah.
benches in there that look
And
out
this
to the
flower pot's gonna be hanging up
Yeah.
and I think it's great. I really do. I'm ever so proud to be able to say, yeah, I'm from Tilton. The flags went up today. So the things on our goal list, whether it's being kinder, gentler with each other, respectful of the employees and letting them know how we value them. We're headed in a good direction. I believe that.
So as the junior member of the board, just a couple of questions, because I went through and I just looked at these, and so I was on the SWOT analysis. And this is, understand my angle isn't negative, because I want to take, there were a couple things in the weaknesses that I just wanted to sort of, I guess, take the temperature of from Jeannie, from the other members of the board who've been here a few extra years, to sort of see where we are, if we're turning those weaknesses into strengths, maybe. Just questions. So I go through, because I don't know where it stood in 2019, but communication, in terms of, have we moved forward? Do people feel we've moved forward in terms of communication? Mr. Jessman.
I definitely feel we've moved forward with communication, whether it's the police department, the rank and file employees, even the management over there. You have a much better open line of communication. I think they understand more what our responsibility is, and we understand more how they feel about it. Downstairs in town hall, I like to think our communication has been better than it was, if not outstanding, better than it was. We have a good relationship with the town clerk, tax collector's office, to the best of my knowledge, and the town administrator, and even the sewer. I don't want to say it like that. With the sewer department, with land use, and public works. I went down, I said, I go down once every 3 months. Well, that's about true. Every 4 months, maybe. Stop down, say, hey, how are you guys doing? What can I do for you? How can I help you guys? Is there anything you need? So I think our communication is better that way. I still think I don't know if it's fall short, or I look on these social media websites and I never chime into that, because you can't correct things that are obviously wrong and try to explain to people that their belief system is flawed. But there's obviously still a lot of people out there who obviously have passionate feelings for the town of Tilton and the surrounding areas, that I would love to bring into the process. People who apparently have bad attitudes online, come on down, be on the budget committee, see how it works. See how it works. I think people get intimidated, and somebody told me that I was the government. And I thought about it for a second. My automatic thing was, I'm not the government. But it turns out that to him, I'm the government. And I don't know necessarily what the answer to that is, except to inviting them, come to the Selectmen meeting. All you people who are whining and sniveling online about things you don't know anything about, it's not a full seat in the room. The only ones here are the Selectmen and the crickets. And I know there's dozens of you. So I invite you to come down, ask questions, be part of the process.
Mr. Jessman, do you think, and I'm building off something that we just had, is that there was coffee with cop? Would it be something where, in a more relaxed situation, having the selectmen that can be there, and this obviously would probably be better on a weekend for us to be able to do that sort of meet and greet.
I think sweets with the selectmen.
Sweets with the select.
I like it.
No.
I'll bring candy.
I'll bring
We have
the
a
coffee.
budget for candy.
But seriously, I mean, just, that might be the case, where sometimes we know that 4:45, Thursday afternoon, people may not be able to get here or they're managing things, but, if we open up on if we have a Saturday morning where we're able to have coffee and sweets and people can come down and just meet with us,
I'm thinking that maybe we reach out to the police department and
do a
coordinate,
combination.
coffee with the cop, coffee with the town official. I don't even know what you would call it at that point or how that would work, but I don't know how many people they get to come out to this.
It's tough because,
You know, for a good turnout, we could go and have it at Onions in the evening and
Have a-
come have a beer.
Have a beer with a selectman and get arrested by a cop.
we could,
Yeah, right.
well, we
right.
could also, we could also look
Right
at
on.
a weekend day in Riverfront Park. There's just the ability.
Could have a barbecue.
Well,
Old
so
Home Day.
you wrote, what, you've already got some pictures that the board should include to more present on home day, Christmas parade. Maybe, let's say Christmas, you have a full selectmen giving a hot cocoa or, something like that. So
Okay.
people come up and, so you've got already built in
Yeah.
activities and of course, one of the things the Economic Development Committee is talking about is doing event in September, a foodie event in downtown Tilton, where every selectman could be there taking part somehow and really people. It's, if you just say, come and meet with the selectmen, that.
Yeah.
It's not sexy, I hate to
Right.
say that.
But
Even
if
the
it's
beer.
around, if
For the
it's
beers.
an event and you have a booth, and you're coming with other things. You know what I'm saying?
Mr. Fire is arguing that at Old Home Days, we should have a dunk tank for the selectmen.
I-
Maybe both municipalities.
I'm all over that. I would get done.
Maybe,
See what
Julie,
town raises more.
maybe the fee could go to the funds.
Well, that would be a friendly competition
Christmas
to have
one.
with our neighbors across the
The
river.
Christmas, that would be perfect.
I'm always down for a good dunking.
Hey, bring it. I can swim.
Not that deep. It's not that deep, Mr. Jesper.
But I have
So-
some,
Yes, go ahead, Pat, please.
so when you talk about the weaknesses in it under the SWOT analysis and you're talking about communications, you see since 2019, primarily I'm talking about what Jeannie has brought forward. With interdepartmental, we see in 2019, one of the things that we put in here under communications was there was a lack of communications between departments. One department didn't know what the other department was doing. And it's so crucial in some departments like land use, particularly in sewer, working together with when you see highway and sewer and the water company working together because they're going to be doing roads soon and they need to work together and communicate. Well, when the only time that they ever got together was at staff meetings. But now there's such, I see that there's a vast improvement on in communications interdepartment since 2019, is I guess is what I want to say. We can do better. We can do better letting people know what's going on with the PD at town hall, what's going on with town hall at highway, what's going in, you know where I'm going with that. And I think that we can do better amongst ourselves with communication and uh, everybody can improve on communications. Yes, we can have sessions. That's a great idea. I love what you're spurring up there with, coffee with a cop and having some time with select board. It's always good to know. And Joe, you're absolutely right. We usually only hear about the complaints and the people on social media putting out the complaints. But if we communicated better, perhaps maybe they would have less to complain about too.
Mr. Fire, did you have something? Okay, so
I did. I'm going to the communication because I took this more from a different perspective. I didn't take it from internal in the town. I took it more from getting the word out about things, because if you look at different things that you read them in here, you know, and I'm going to commit right now that when I come back from vacation, I'm going to focus on some of the ideas that I've mentioned in the past and bring them to fruition. I'm just a little mentally spent and I need a break. But I think that getting the word out on social media, no offense to Tim, but our town website is hard to get information on or from. And I think that getting that and making it easy to find improves communication, improves involvement. And I'm gonna put everything down. I have put a lot of it down at home. And as I say, when I come back from vacation, I'll be ready to put my
Best foot forward.
my best foot forward on that. Because I see a lot of things, you know, the economic development. I really think that I'm excited about that. I see a lot that can happen in this town. I love this town. So I say I took everything on this more from a public standpoint and not internally. So, but I think you start building, you know, a small wave and getting people interested in it, but they have to know about things. They have to know about opportunities. It's funny when they had the piece on Chronicle about what happens at the senior center on Wednesday night. I didn't realize it was that big. You know, I mean, I hear about it. I haven't gone to it. That's my own fault. But seeing it on TV was like, wow, that happens in Tilton. And, you know, and kind of what you said earlier, there's a lot of naysayers out there, but they're keyboard warriors. And I don't put a lot of weight into what the keyboard warriors say. Come sit, there's 30 empty chairs here. Come communicate with us, come see us, come talk to us. Things don't get resolved on the internet because we're not going to, it doesn't trickle down to us. We don't make those decisions. So communication is really is a big thing about success and about failure, because lack of communication will cause failure or misinformation. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. Pyro. Mr. Scanlon, anything?
You know, looking back over this, when we first did it, it's like, wow, that's an awful lot. Wow. What am I going to do and do it? I think 5 years ago, it's been, well, a good percentage of this, we have the firm foundations of them all are done. So nothing just comes to you. The thing is once we get it, we cannot become complacent with it. That's going to be a big thing. Just because you succeeded at something, you can't sit back. These are ongoing things, and we all try our different ways. All of us have different talents, and so don't the residents. And to nurture those talents, bring them into the fold, and let everybody know that they're part of the community is great. I mean, we look at the barbecue. I didn't make it down there for that, but there was apparently a good number of people down there, you know, cheering Ron on, or doing the
Oh, I see, yeah. Okay.
the stone thing. And just that community thing is really big because we do have a really nice town here. And I think a lot of us for years didn't realize what we're holding on to here. And yeah, I think we're going in a good direction. Let's not become complacent, keep the momentum going.
I think that last word that you used, John, is important. I've been here 21 years, and there's a little bit of momentum building right now, I think. And I had gone through the vision list, the vision of the town of Tilton in 5 years. And I either checked off crossed off new police station because that's done. So that one's off the list. But then I had sort of checked off the things where there's momentum in the areas sort of as curb appeal. I think we're getting some direction in terms of, we're getting some movement in terms of direction of the town. There have been discussions about the appeal of the water and what we can now do. And, I think we also need to understand that the appeal in certain areas of communities around us are things that we can use to our advantage as well. I'll go back to it. The Whitewater Park in Franklin is something that, us embracing it and understanding that can be a benefit and a resource for us as well is an important thing. We all know about the historical buildings. The fact that we acknowledge them, we love them. We continue to work at them. I know directly, and everyone's seen it, that Tilton School really wants to continue to increase its link with the town and the history that's there and the opening up of the mansion and the more literal physically opening up of the mansion that will come in the next 12 to 18 months will be great. But I think we still can work hard, and I think this came out of the Economic Development Committee conversation this past week, is in creating even better relationships with our business community. And I know that Jeannie's fantastic at that. And then being known for something. That's where we need to go. Because now, very honestly, I think we know that we're the outlets, or we're the, where people pass through to go from one side of Route 3 to Laconia. But I think we're on the cusp of really being able to start to develop that identity that we now need to develop in the 21st century. And it's different. There are so many of these New England towns who've had to reinvent themselves, after everything that the Industrial Revolution had built and took away because things disappeared and it just became a different world. And I'll stop now. So I think we've got some things. I think ongoing sort of taking a look at this is an important thing for us to do as the leaders. I think revisiting it every so often and seeing where we are, or acknowledging the fact that, boy, we're bumping up in that area, or we're doing really well in that area, or, oh, maybe we need to give a little more attention to this too. The one other suggestion, and I had a brief talk with Jeannie about this recently, is I wonder if it would be worthwhile for us to solicit, very honestly, a 360 survey of the town employees, responding and sort of giving their impression of the job that we're doing as well. Just
Totally anonymous.
Yeah, totally anonymous, absolutely 100% anonymous, and allow them to sort of, be able to give feedback, and then we take that and do with it what we need to do with it, accept the critique that comes, accept the praise that comes, and keep them all as learning experiences, so that we sort of know the folks that honestly we oversee from above, and sort of where they stand and what they feel about where the board is and what the board is doing. So just an idea that I had recently. Anyone else? Selectman Constantino, anything else?
I'm all set.
Thank you. Town administrators report.
So before we go on this, just so I have some clarity about what I just heard, and are you suggesting that we come back and revisit this periodic basis?
Here's my take. And this is one person, I think it's a healthy thing to sort of go back and sort of see where we stand and sort of evaluate, and maybe it becomes a little bit more focused where we pick out a couple of the goals and just sort of evaluate where we stand on those.
Well, I wonder as a board if you shouldn't go through it and say, this year, this is what we'd like to, because if you just leave it, you just come back in 3 months and say, yeah, we didn't do anything, or it just kind of happened on its own, but being intentional about it. So maybe there's, for instance, one of the things I look at for me that I really wanted to tackle, and I think Tim, if he's listening, because we were part of this goal setting, Tim and I participated, was this idea that Tilton should have a reputation for being a premier employer. And that doesn't mean that it's all about money, because it's not all about money. It's all about, a lot of other things that can help, whether it's recognition, like you say, having an event for all the employees to get together, or, little things, but really focusing on that, because there's going to be a time. We're already seeing now and struggling with finding good people to fill positions. You look how long we looked for land use and didn't. Fortunately, Janice. There are other communities who are looking for people in municipal positions who are just struggling to find people. And again, it's not all about money. It's about, I'd love to go to Tilton because they have fun there. That it's an up and coming community. So it is about the economic development. It's about, this is a place where things are happening. And the gentleman who did the report on the bridge assessment, Archbarger out in New Jersey, talked to him the other day because we're trying to come to some formulated plan to bring back to how we move forward. And he was saying to me how when he came into this community, he was just so thrilled to be here. And the fact that this community, this board supported the idea of his history, because, there is so much in this town. And there are communities who don't value it. And it's the excitement around, you've got this treasure, this asset that no one else in the country, in fact, world. And the fact that you support that idea, that gets people excited and wanting to be part of it. So anyway, that is something I think that Tim and I want to work on. We want to talk to this board succession planning. You're going to go in the future. I know in Meredith, we're talking about it, for our employees. Been here a long time, and we need to really start thinking about those things. So preparing you for that next step.
Succession planning. Can't get enough employees to fill out the slot. But when we do, we'll be ready.
I have one more point that I want to make on this thing.
Please do, Pat.
We're talking about the vision of the town of Tilton in 5 years. And one of the things that we said in 2019, keep in mind now, we were all brainstorming all these ideas. And one of these, and the second bullet on here is town administrator to town manager. If that's something, and if that's a path that we want to continue to do, I'm not necessarily for or against it. What I'm saying is if the board and the town administrator, if that's something that we want to do, then we need to try to do that publicly, and there are steps to do that in, and steps to take to do that in, and it's not just as easy as here you go, boom, all of a sudden we're going to decide Tilton needs a town manager. It takes a lot of thought and a lot of process and a lot of steps, to my knowledge. Am I correct in that, Jeannie?
Yeah, it has to go to town meeting.
Right. There's a lot of preparation before you go to town meeting on that, though. So, and the first step is for the board to recognize whether or not there's a need for that, and do we want that? And so my thought process is, if this is in the vision, and it was in the vision in 2019, then in the very near future, we should probably have a session to talk about that.
I think too, I think Jeannie's point about, here's what I want, I'm going to encourage us to do. I think in the term of the next two meetings is take a look at this, I think the vision points, and then think about intentionally, what intentionally, which ones do we want to sort of emphasize? Maybe we think for the remainder of the year. I think I'd like to hear from everyone else in terms of, time period on those. I'll be on curb appeal it's coming. It's in the works. So I don't know if we need to sort of say, yeah, I mean, that's already being worked on very, very intentionally. And I think there's some others, but I mean, this is a very, very wise board. We have a very wise town administrator, I think, and we have a very wise IT and finance person too. I think taking a look at these and maybe trying to narrow down 3-ish for what we're going to be intentional on, maybe over the next 6 months, calendar year, whatever we feel is appropriate. And that'll sort of help us focus, what we want to do and what we want to bring to the public and what we want to bring to this board and what we want to have our town administrator and everyone else really emphasize. So I think over the next 2 meetings, I think we could come back in 2 meetings and sort of narrow down a top 3. I think that would be great because, again, I'm going to echo what everyone else says. I love this town and I love the feel and the vibe that's in the town. The passion that people have, whether it's directed in the right way or maybe not, but at least there's passion there. You don't have people who are sitting back and just being passive about their love of their town, which is a great thing. Okay. Town administrators report.
All right. So you all should have a copy of my report. The tax warrant looks like you all signed, so that's off the list. Caleb Hill Road. So we had the public meeting on Caleb Hill Road, and I don't know if the board has come to any decision based on that meeting. That the decision before you right now is, do you want to initiate a engineering study of Caleb Hill Road to find out what the associated cost of the reconstruction of that road will be? The DOT has said that they will pay for up to $100,000, and we were able to negotiate with them that if after that study comes back and it's more than 3.12 million, that we have the right to walk away, and they will pay for that engineering study, that we won't be having to pay for that. We will have to pay for it up front, $100,000. But I didn't know if the board had any, and I don't think if you still need to think about it or talk, but I don't think you have to make that decision tonight. But I did want to circle back and find out if you have any thoughts on it.
I definitely have thoughts on this process. My first thought is $3.15 million won't be enough. However, that could change according to what the engineer said. The second thing is, actually the first thing really is, without the engineering study, we don't know what it'll cost. I would be totally in favor of putting out an RFP for engineering firms on this project to see what it'll cost. It might be $85,000, might be $140,000, but we won't know because they're only going to give us $100,000 for this. You know what? If the state really wanted to give us this road, they just fix it, and I would be the first one to line up to sign the paper. But this whole tap dance that they're doing
Hmm.
about, first off, it's 1/3, 2/3, and then you're on the list, you're not on the list. We got you this money, but there's caveats, and we'll only pay this much, even if it's $5 million. You know what I mean? And I figure that if we take their $100,000 and get an engineering thing that says it's gonna cost $4 million, they really want to get rid of that road, they'll pony up the difference.
Mhm. Right, and as I, Pat and I talked about it earlier, and, you know, the one concern I have, I don't think it's a real concern, but it is something to think about is, you know, you hire an engineering company to do the study and they come back and they say it's the, let's say it's, I don't know, let's say it's, because it doesn't really matter if it's 3.1 million, then it's all covered, so we're good to go. I just want to make sure that if you sign that contract to do the engineering study, that we know we're getting that $100,000.
Yeah, the state has to, well, who told you that they would pay? Do we have that in writing?
Oh yeah, we negotiated. It's in the draft agreement right now.
Okay, then they're gonna pay their
Which we
$100,000.
didn't, you know, Tim and I, we didn't think that they would go for that, and they did. So,
Yeah, I agree with Joe. I think we have to know what the actual cost is gonna be for the correct work that needs to be done on that road. And then from there, it's, you know, I watched from afar for a little bit, and now obviously intimately the last 12 months, it's like, it's moved. It's been that moving target of what they're willing to do. But I don't want this municipality to take over a road that is not perfect, so that it makes it, you know, so that it makes it manageable for us in the future. Very honestly, I also don't want us to have to assume a bond, any of the debt to be able to fix that road. If they want it gone, then they need to pay and do it, to pay to have it done right, so that when they hand it over to us, it becomes a manageable road.
If they had maintained that road properly for all these years, it wouldn't be in the state of disrepair that it's in right now. And we wouldn't be talking about, 3.15 won't do it, because it would do it. But there's a lot of ledge that has to be blown out of there, drainage issues. In some places, that ground is swamp underneath that road. So I think it's on the state to come up with this money. And I'd like to move forward with the first step on the process.
John?
So there's a couple things. I'm not sure, do we really want that road? The residents, I heard that some were saying that, well, you know, if we make it really nice, it's going to increase the speed and it's going to turn into a shortcut for everybody else. So why should we as taxpayers want to take over a road that the state is taking care of for us? The next thing is, and I think Joe might remember a couple deals with the state where they were going to reimburse us.
Yeah.
And how many years did it take, even though we had agreements?
And I still don't think we've gotten our money.
Yeah, so they don't always pay up on time, and we can't really collect from them. They collect from us. And it was quite a bit of money that they owed us, and I believe there's still contentions on some of it. So do we want to focus on this? Do we want to put out $100,000 towards the engineering, get reimbursed, and then spend a lot of time arguing when a lot of the residents, from what I saw, I took a look at the video, weren't really keen on getting it done. So you folks were there. I was not there. I was away. And I think you could read that barometer a little bit better being there in person. But those are the ones that are going to be living with it, and the residents are going to be dealing with it from here on out for plowing it, maintaining it, putting stripes or fog lines on it and such. That's my thoughts on it.
Mr. Power.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that, I think we should go after the 100,000, because it's, everyone's being a armchair quarterback and we're speculating on what it's gonna cost. We don't know, at least we'll have a better idea, a more focused idea. I think that we're damned if we do and damned if we don't, meaning that we're gonna make some people on Caleb Hill Road very happy that the road may get fixed, and there's some people that are gonna be upset that the road gets fixed, because of some of the reasons that Mr. Scanlon said. I think that we have to do it, and I came out of there, but I also came out with the impression from Senator Gaida that if we find out that this is a much more expensive project than the state has estimated, that there may be the potential, and it gives us a negotiating tool with the state that we can look at the options, but we can't look at options unless we know what we're dealing with. And I really think, you know, in a sense, it's going to cost us money, but it's not going to cost us money. And I'd rather find out what the true fix is going to be, what's going to be wrong. Joe's saying there's ledge, and I understand there's ledge or swamp, but it's 2 miles. It's 10,000, I'm not good at math, but it's 10,000 feet of road, you know, and you're going to have a lot of different things happening from Winter Street intersection all the way up, you know, to the intersection with March Road at the town line. So you're going to have there was one resident saying there's ledge, and there's another, you know, the other people have drainage issues. It's 2 completely different issues. And you're going to have a lot of things. I think we need to do it.
I propose we go forward with the engineering RFP.
Pat, did she say anything?
Pat, are you there? Do you have,
I propose we go for all the same reasons everybody else is proposing. I believe we need to get a price first and know where we stand. Thank you.
thank you. We need to make a motion on it? Or just,
If there's consensus.
there's consent?
There's at least 4 of them. I don't know if
Unless,
Joe.
Joe, you want to make,
No,
okay,
Okay,
all
good,
right,
great.
all right.
I do have one question though.
Mhm.
Where did that money come from?
Well, they've already appropriated 3 point,
I got that. I have to lay out $100,000
Oh, right.
for,
and Tim said, Tim, are you there?
I am. In fact, I just had a quick comment, if I may, just
Please.
regarding the road. I'm going to try not to cough or anything, but the one thing I think, no matter what the end price of the road is to construct properly, whether or not that's all provided by the state or not, I think the bigger question is, does the town want to own and maintain that road over a long period of time? If it were to cost $1 million 20 years from now to resurface, that we would be having to put away about $50,000 a year in a capital reserve, so that we don't have to bond that 20 years from now. You know, it's that kind of thing I think is a, you know, once you know what you're dealing with in terms of the cost of the road, I think that's the next bigger question is, does the town want to really own this for the long term? Because, you know, once it's constructed, the cost will never go down, as far as I could tell. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
But there was a question for you, Tim, about
where does the money come from?
the 100,000.
Oh, right. So being that we would be reimbursed, we would essentially be using our cash flow to pay for the engineering until reimbursement.
When is the drop dead date on paying it back? If the state doesn't reimburse us, when do we have to have $100,000?
Well, I think when when we, well, my recommendation would be when Jeannie or Jeannie and I go back to the state, we set out the terms of the, how it would be repaid and the, payment terms, reimbursement terms, I should say.
Okay,
All right, great, thank you. So next item, draft agreement between the Tilton Historical Society and the town. John Ciarello has looked at it. He had one suggested change, which I sent you in an email. You have a copy in your folder, in your binder. I think his change is acceptable. And I'm asking the board if they do have final fee to sign, so we can get moving on.
I'm good with it.
I'm
I
good.
thank the Tilton Historical Society, John Cirillo specifically, as well as the Tilton School for becoming a part of this. The Historical Society has really become quite a thing. I think it's quite an asset for the town.
I'm in agreement with I read the draft and I'm in agreement with the entire thing and the subtle changes I've made. So I'm a yes on signing it.
I'm a yes.
I'm good. Pat, are you good with the draft for the Tilton Historical Society agreement?
Yes, I am.
So,
All right, good. So I've just sent that around for you to sign. Next item, update on the Island Park project. So there are 3 pieces to this project. The bridge is now closed. In fact, based on Eric's comment from the last meeting about being able to access the bridge from the other side, the guys who were out there, I think yesterday, making sure that it was not accessible from the other side if somebody got on the island.
No, it's not, but it's an eyesore.
I did get an email from the Tilton, Tim Hubert, Tilton Northfield Fire District asking if they could have access to the island in case of emergency. I did talk with our insurance company, and he said that our response would be that we don't advise use of the bridge. But if there was a need for an emergency access, we would not stand in their way. So if the board is okay with that, I will respond back to the deputy chief.
How do we
Yes.
facilitate that? I don't know how they put up the barriers, but what constitutes access? They have to chop it down or,
Yeah, that they'll have to chop it down.
oh, they have saws.
Bit of access.
So the final report on the bridge is done, and Scott and I talked a little bit about it. It would be nice if the board is ready to make that public so we can start creating excitement about it. So you're good with making it public?
Yes.
yes,
Have we closed the bridge? I think we should communicate
And I
why
think-
and what's
yeah,
going
and
on.
people can read for themselves
Right.
why.
Okay. So Scott's helped me with a couple grants. I've filed 2, one with the Land and Water Conservation Fund and the other with the Hart Family Fund. One is for, the Hart Family Fund is for the Historic Landscape Master Plan, and the other one is to help pay for the restoration of the bridge. I laid out a timeline for all of you in my notes. I don't feel like I need to go over that unless anyone has any questions, but you can see it's a big project. I met with engineering, a bridge company today. I think we might, if the board decides they want to do this, we may have a bridge that we can rent if you decide to do that, because I think once this bridge is moved, it's going to be gone for at least a year. And the bridge, most likely, because there's so many things that have to be done before the bridge is actually moved, assembling an engineering team. It's a big project. So this bridge is likely not to be removed until October of '23. And then you've got all the restoration of the island with the granite blocks. We're working on that. So a lot of different moving parts, and it will, I guess I want to emphasize, it's not going to be a quick project. It's probably going to, I would estimate we would have a ribbon cutting in spring, summer of 2020.
We started 15 years ago, so we never knew it was going to be quick.
Mr. Pyra.
Question.
Mhm.
Don't know how to ask it. I'm just gonna ask it. Can we set up a fundraising page for the restoration of the bridge? Make it a 501c type thing.
We don't have to because we're a
Municipality.
municipality, so
Okay.
it doesn't, that's not, but Scott had a great idea for,
Quickly, when I talked with Jeannie about it the other day, looking at lamppost placement, you know, you are, if we go to where we're looking for public donations, et cetera, I know that we've all probably seen them in towns where they have the thermometer, you know, painting thing. I think it would be kind of fun if we go that route, and if we have a fundraising thing that we actually do a bridge. So you can paint the sections of the bridge across as we get closer to the goal. So just that's a little minutia, but it would be kind of fun to be able to have that. I do think you're right, Eric, that if we go to take that step and open up the fundraising publicly, that being able to have that presence online would be a boon for us, because it would give exposure.
Well, I think you see it for libraries, you see it for churches,
Yeah.
you see it for parks, playgrounds. I mean, that's a huge asset in the town, and I think there's people and companies, businesses that would be willing to.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if having that fund would affect any types of grants. So that's why.
no, in fact, they look for community involvement.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's not table it, but let's keep that on the front burner as we move forward with this, start to develop a plan.
Can that community involvement piece be used towards the matching funds?
Yes.
Outstanding.
In fact, I know a chef who's willing to make multiple coconut cream pies to sell.
Is his name Joe?
I'll bet you do.
All right.
So we still on bridge. I was wondering if we could either paint the plywood or get some temporary construction fencing. Have you seen those? Are panels, and they can be open. The middle one you can put together with the chain that the fire department could cut and open, and it doesn't look so bad because you can kind of see through it. And they have those. They put them around construction sites, and stuff like that, and they go 8 feet high, and very secure, and it just kind of looks.
It isn't the most attractive. But what I don't know is, from meeting with this gentleman today, you know, what he's going to come back with this bridge that he's got, you know, I don't know if that could happen. I mean, that could happen this summer. I guess you're still going to have that ugly
For a couple of years.
plywood, but I think one of the things we talked about is finding some artistic.
Because you get that chain link fence, I mean, it's only 20 feet of it, and it's actually panels that are pre-made, and they look really nice there, and they don't have to be attached, like, into the ground or anything like
Can you
that.
send me information?
Yeah.
Are you going over?
I'll see what, with every construction, and I bet Kevin
Running
knows
it.
Okay.
about them.
Road on your stuff.
That we might want to
No.
purchase some if they have them for
Yeah.
a while.
Oh,
All right. Anything else on the bridge?
No, thank you.
All right. The next item is the cemetery. We did make a call to the landed, I should say, the property owner. And he is open to deeding the cemetery to the town with some stipulations. However, he has repaired and restored and is planning to put a fence around the cemetery with an access gate. So didn't know how you wanted to proceed on this. You know, do you want to take over a cemetery?
I'm a no.
Jeannie,
Go ahead, Pat. No?
Jeannie, first of all, have you looked at the deed?
Leanne has, I haven't looked at it physically myself, but it does own that property.
Does the deed actually specify the cemetery within the bounds of their property line?
I couldn't tell you that because I haven't looked at it. So if that's something you want, you know, when you asked me about this the other day, I mentioned that it's not on the priority list. So what I'm giving you today is what I have so far. I'm happy to continue the research, but it's not complete. So if you're looking for that kind of information, that'll have to wait. And I'm happy to do that.
I wonder if we could, for the next meeting, just have a map with the deed, and just so that we know what the, everything.
So here's where I'm going with that, is because if the deed specifies that the cemetery is within the confines of their boundaries, then they actually they actually own the cemetery. And it's pretty sad to know that I went to physical therapy this morning, and there's this huge Generac generator on top of the cemetery sitting there. It's really sad to see. So regardless of what kind of fencing, there's a black plastic fence around it, temporary fence around the confines of the white gravestones themselves, around the small square, but they have this huge Generac, probably, I don't know, maybe looking from a distance, the street, it's about 5 feet by 4. And remember, I told you that there's only like 5 inches between that house, and this is sitting on top of the cemetery plot. Well, if they own that property, then it's a private cemetery, and so be it. But it's the oldest settler in the town of Tilton. This is our history. This is not something to just say, leave it to somebody else and let them take care of it. This is not. But if it's not, then there's, under the New Hampshire Cemetery Association 289:20, steps to declare a burial ground abandoned, which means that you need to put it in, the municipality shall put it in an advertisement in the paper for general distribution, and wait 60 or 90 days to, they have to advertise the name of the person on the stone, the oldest person in one of the stones, and see if any descendants reply to the selectman's office or town manager or mayor as applicable. And then we hold the public hearing, and then we declare. There's definite steps to take whether or not it's abandoned. And then if it's abandoned, it's owned by, we then have specific rights and responsibilities as a abandoned cemetery. That's the route that I was wanting to figure out, and nobody can kind of tell me whether or not that deed specifies that the
I thought you had said in an earlier meeting that years ago, people who owned it wanted to give it to the town, and the town said no. So
well, there's Yes, that's absolutely correct. But there are some deeds, Jeannie, there are some cemeteries that have deeds that go along with, that have the cemeteries specific to the deed, and some don't. I'll give you a perfect example. The Banford Cemetery that was owned by the Dawson clan up over by the Banford Brook. Jim Dodge, it was their property. He actually included it within their deed, so it becomes their property. So a lot of people have cemeteries but do not include it within their deed. I don't know. I don't know if that kind of makes sense to you, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, there's more research that needs to be done, and we could talk all night about this, but let me see what else we can find for the next meeting, because that's my understanding is that maybe we come back and find out that he doesn't, but there's nothing where, it sounds like we don't want to make any decision tonight, and that's fine. I'm just bringing you the information I found out.
Yeah, let's just do a little bit more research. Mr. Scanlon.
Yeah, I did a little research, and Philbrook was the first settler in this town that's buried there, and the family. And I think it was our loved ones or something that's that important to our town that we should do very good due diligence to preserve the grave of our founding father. So yeah, I think a thorough deed research is in order.
So is that something you're telling me you want me to hire the attorney to do?
Whoever researches a thorough deed, I think this is only the right thing to do. It is a burial spot for somebody who is very important in this town. And I think it's something our duty as selectmen in abandoned graves that should be turned over to us, that we should do a deed research to make sure we're doing the proper thing to preserve somebody's gravesite.
Doesn't the town clerk have a deed research company?
They do. I don't know what it is,
I
but
don't know.
they've always had a deed
I
research
can
company.
ask Tom.
Is that the person they asked to
I don't know what
the
the,
contract with?
yeah, I don't know. Because you've got.
Yeah, we've got-
Well, I just know if we could
I
get
think
consensus to do a deed research on it.
I'd like to suggest that we take a look at what we have first,
Right.
and then if there's not enough there, then we go to deed research second. So, I mean, but I want to know that if we have something that's
But how do we
definitive,
know, compared to somebody who officially does it and stamps their name on it as an official deed researcher? Because we already got a piece of property from the state that we didn't own. We paid for it. Yeah, remember that one?
Oh, God.
So
won't forget
having
that
it
one
done
now.
professionally by somebody that's really good at it, it's a very important person that is buried there, and they deserve it.
Right, so for the next meeting, I will bring back what I have for deed information.
thank you.
So, and then you can decide next steps if you want to go forward there. Unless I'm hearing
Well,
something
I'd like
different.
to make a motion that we do a deed research. That we get official deed research.
I'll second that.
There you go.
Motion in a second. Discussion.
I'd rather put it off one meeting and see what we've actually got. Based on that, we do the deed research and go according.
Is what we have a professionally searched deed
What
by
we have is a legal
a piece of
deed,
paper.
and it might be, say, right in there, including cemetery. We don't know that.
See, the whole thing with a deed is that is the deed at that time, but the one before that, you've got to go back because somebody can put things into deed and file them. And we saw that when
You're
we
right.
purchased Salmon Run, we purchased something that was written in a deed. However, the deed before it, it was never in there. It was actually belonged to somebody else. And that's what I'm concerned about. And we should not rely on something that wasn't professionally research by somebody who is insured to cover for any loss if they did not properly research a deed and not leave it on to, an employee that we have.
You're right, John, but I still hesitate to even want to be in charge of that cemetery.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Selectman Constantino.
the other point I want to make and to go, the reason why I seconded on the deed search is that there's 3 sublots on this lot, There are 3 sublots, lot 1, 2, and 3. If you look at R9, there are 3 different sublots. So which lot has the cemetery on it? And you go back 3 different, there are 3 different ownerships within the last 9 years.
Any more discussion?
Call the question.
Question has been called. Those who are in favor of doing professional deed research on the East Main Street property, it's 785 Laconia Road property, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay, aye.
Motion fails.
Okay, so the last, I won't go through the FYIs unless somebody has a question for me on any of those, but one other item, the RFP for the trash has gone out. And Kevin and I were talking about it. Didn't get a chance to talk to Tim about it, so he hasn't heard about this. Wondered if we should amend RFP to give residents an option of, if they have more than the 1 barrel of the trash, that they could directly rent a barrel from the company.
Provider.
They do it in other towns.
Do we have, I don't think it's rental, but isn't there a similar agreement now where they can purchase another barrel, if I'm not
Well,
mistaken?
this isn't about,
So,
yeah, but I don't think it's in this RFP, so
Okay.
just as an option,
They would pick it up
yes,
yes,
at the same time.
okay,
I think yes.
then we'll do that. Pat and Eric, I'm sorry, I didn't hear from you.
Pat, are you in agreement with that, the altering of the RFP for the garbage?
I am.
Okay, Mr. Pyro?
Yes.
All right, and I'm done.
New business, and we have a member of the public with us. Sir, how are you? Okay. If you would like to, yes, please. So,
If you like.
Probably should be.
Okay.
yes, okay. Let me go back. Is it 91?
Yeah. It would be
Is it
the
A?
reputation one, the last one you read.
Okay,
Okay, and Tim, I don't know if you heard, we're gonna be going into non-public.
Yes, I heard.
Okay, and Pat, I don't know if you want to try to call in and participate in this, or,
I do.
okay.
How do I do?
Pat, I'll text you the extension to call. And Jeannie, it'll be the speakerphone on the table.
okay,
And if for some reason that doesn't work, I would just have one of you use your speakerphones on your cell.
Okay, that sounds good. The time being 8:27, I make a motion to enter into non-public session per RSA 91A3 2C. Matters which, if discussed in public, would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such persons request an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant.
Pyro second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Hearing none.
roll call.
Roll call vote.
Justin, yeah, oh, sorry. Is Pat on yet?
I don't think so.
Constantino, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Fire, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We're now in non-public session.
We have to put the sign up then.
This
Okay.
conference will now be recorded.
Oh, he's down at Tilton.
I make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session of May 5th, 2022, because the reasons justifying the need for the non-public session still remain.
Second,
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of sealing the minutes for non-public session number 2, May 5th, 2022, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? None. Motion passes. Is there any more new business? Mr. Jessamine,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion and a second.
Did you announce the employment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good, thanks. Good night.
Those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye,
Aye, let's cap it.
Those opposed will be removed from the board.
Don't come back.
They shall be beheaded.